Hi there, this is John from thediscard.com. It's Monday evening, it's a nice cool autumn night, and I think that sounds like the perfect time to play some Ixalan. Let's jump into it. All right, here we go. Pack one, pick one. Let's see what we've got. We've got Vance's Blasting Cannons. This card I think is actually a pretty good long game card. It just gets you so much card advantage. You really don't have to worry about flipping it. I'm going to reserve that for now. Other strong picks in this pack. I really like Pounce. I think that's actually a decent first pick. Not amazing, but I mean, it's all right. Most of the time, I think you're going to trade off the creature. So it's not as powerful as it could be. Ranging Raptors. This card could be all right. It's usually going to get you a land. And it's a 2/3 for 3, so that's not bad. We've got the Pterodon Knight, but I'm not looking to first pick that. Anointed Deacon, if we end up going for vampires, this could be pretty good. In the late game, it really lets you get through with those 1/1 lifelink tokens or the 2/2 for 2. And I'm not picking a gold card, so let's just go with the Blasting Cannon, see what we get here. Okay, Lightning Rig Crew is actually pretty good. It's another, if your deck's going to be a little bit slower, or if you're playing pirates, it can be good. It can actually get in for quite a bit of damage, and 5 toughness holds back a lot of stuff. We've got Skullduggery here. This card's pretty great, especially if we end up in a pirates build or vampires. Jade Guardian, we could go early on the Jade Guardians, build ourselves a pants deck, as I say, just load them up with stuff. If you put the +2/+2 and flying on here, it's really difficult to deal with. Thundering Spineback is also pretty darn good. I like the idea of staying red, although I think the Spineback may be better than the Lightning Rig Crew. But I want to stay red for a little bit longer. We'll see what we get. Deeproot Champion is pretty good. Kind of a build around, though. I don't think I've really seen many decks that have enough spells to make this worthwhile. We've got Glorifier of Dusk. If we wanted to go red-white, this is not a bad top end. Works a lot better in the vampires, where you're going to be gaining a lot of life. Might stay red again. Go with the Rigging Runner here. Pirates could be good. Not seeing a lot else that I'd like. Yeah, let's take that. The Freebooter is pretty good if we end up in pirates as well. It's a 1/2 flyer. Gets rid of something in their hand, most likely. Could stay red, aggressive, pick up the Nest Robber, but if we end up in pirates, I don't really want the Nest Robber that much. There's plenty of 2s in pirates. The Schooner could be all right as well. Crew 1 lets you take some of these lower drop creatures that get outpaced pretty quickly and turn them into a 4/3. But the 3 toughness is going to trade off with pretty much anything. River Herald's Boon is very good. I'm not sure I want to be red-green. Let's take the Freebooter. I like taking 2 drops as much as possible in this format. It can be very easy to get flooded in the 4 and 5 range in this format. So let's see what we get here. Okay, the Dire Fleet Captain's pretty good. I feel like it might be a little bit early to commit to black as a second color here. We really just have the Freebooter. But seeing as all of our creatures are already pirates, we might take that. Let's see, if we're going to play black, I'm not taking the Desperate Castaways before the Dire Fleet Captain. Makeshift Munitions, I'm not really hot on that. Dealing 1 damage is just not worth sacrificing an artifact or creature. It's really only good, I think, if you get a lot of hijacks. Let's see here. I don't think Opt is good enough to go into blue. Dinosaurs were certainly not on. The Judgment could be all right, but I'm going to go ahead and take this Pirate. Let's see how we do with Pirates. All right, so that's a pretty good pickup right there. I think if the Dire Fleet Captain were not in this pack, I would take the Headstrong Brute. 3/3 Menace for 3 mana is pretty good. Now let's go with another pirate. Primal Amulet. I forget what this does, but I think it's... Yeah, this is pretty much unplayable. The Sky Terror is great. Although it does end up outclassing or getting outclassed by a lot of the other flyers in the format. I think we can take the Cutthroat here. Nothing really that we want in here. We could take the Ryle in the board in case we end up getting any of the good red dinos. We'll see how this goes. I don't want another Ryle. Green is pretty open, but I think it's a little late to shift into green for any of these cards. The Bright Reprisal, this is a pretty medium card. I don't know if you want to use your 5th turn killing an attacking creature and drawing a card, but it will get you sometimes. Let's take this 1/1 flyer. Maybe we end up with a lot of raid. If our deck ends up being slow, the Rummaging Goblin can be all right. It's not a pirate. It doesn't really fit with anything else. But it's very easy to get flooded in this format, so I'm going to pick the Goblin. I don't think we really want any of this, so we'll get the Gilded Sentinel. We could end up with a lot of the 2/3 that can't attack unless you have an artifact. Let's just take that. I'll take the Pirate's Prize in case we end up blue. This munition's just so bad. Really don't want it. Get in the board, Brontodon. Alright, so we are a little low on playables in here. We technically could play the Ryle if we are low on playables here. It's really just cycling, though. I don't know that we really want that. The Gilded Sentinel is just there in case we are short on playables again. I do like some of the stuff we have here. Having 2 of the Dire Fleet Captain seems like a pretty good start. The Rigging Runner, if we can pick up a couple more of those, we could end up running something like the Blight Keeper just to have a non-Rigging Runner to attack. All right, let's see what we have here. Bloodcrazed Paladin, I kind of thought this was going to be pretty good going into the format. I think it's actually quite bad. It really just, it seems like at most you end up with a 2/2 or a 3/3, and it's just not really that good. Grim Captain's Call, I'm not too high on that either. We've got Savage Stomp. This is maybe one of the best green uncommons. If it targets a dinosaur, it only costs 1 mana, which is pretty crazy to give a +1/+1 counter and fight. Let's see, what else do we have here? Deadeye Tormentor is a pirate. Make the opponent discard a card. I think I'd rather have the Headstrong Brute, however. I think Menace, a 3/3 Menace, if you have another pirate, is better than a 2/2 raid that makes him discard. The Skymarch Bloodletter is not bad either. It's a 2/2 flyer, drains for 1. And I would like to pick up a Sure Strike at some point, but let's get the Headstrong Brute. Deadeye Tracker. Exile 2 target cards from an opponent's graveyard. Deadeye Tracker explores. This could be all right. It's looking like blue is pretty open. I'm not sure that I really want to start going into strictly Grixis here. This Quartermaster is great if we get a Cutlass. Either of these are great if we end up with blue. Shipwreck Looter lets you loot. Siren's Ruse. Exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If a pirate was exiled this way, draw a card. You can really get your opponent if they're trying to use any kind of targeted removal on one of your pirates. Flicker it, gets to draw a card, replaces itself. I'm going to go with the Deadeye Tracker, however. I think that card can be good in the late game. Favorable Winds is great. We do have a lot of possible picks here. The Wanted Scoundrels. This is a card that at first I really thought was bad. Its flavor text even tells you, trust me, the reward's not worth it. But sometimes this card just hits for 8 or 12. If you get it down on turn 2, it's really tough to deal with. And if you can get your opponent down so much for 2 mana, it's kind of all right to give them the treasures. And a lot of times, by the time it dies, they don't need the treasure anyway. Another great pick in here would be the Siren Lookout. If we do end up going blue, it's a pirate, explores, it's a flyer. There's a lot of times when you will just get chipped down slowly by a 2/3 Siren Lookout. Vanquish the Weak is really good as well. Most of the creatures in the format that you want to kill are 3 or less, but I'm going to go with the creature. We're going to stay aggro here. Got another Makeshift Munitions. The Steadfast Armosaur, if we were in white, this card's tough to play against because your opponent just can't really attack into it, and you get to attack with it, so it kind of gets to attack and block without much sort of opposition there. Making your opponent spend removal on this thing doesn't really feel good to spend some premium removal or something like that on a 2/3, but it has to happen if it's out on the board. In this case, though, I will keep with the pirate theme. Let's get a Tormentor. All right. I wouldn't mind getting this Dragon Skull Summit just to have a little bit of fixing. I don't think it's all that necessary for a 2-color deck like this. We do have another favorable wins, but at this point, I think we're pretty far off from blue. We don't have anything above 4 right now, so we could potentially grab the Sun Crown Hunters, but this is not a super high pick for me. 4 toughness, you pay 6 mana, you're basically going to eat a creature and deal 3 damage for 6 mana. Or actually more likely trade off. The Heartstopper is not a bad early play, but I think we're a little bit more aggressive than we need to be for that. This feels like more of a mid-range sort of control-y type thing. So let's take the fixing. Why not? Sword Point Diplomacy. I've seen this card played. I'm still not sure what I think about it. Reveal the top 3 cards of your library. For each of those cards, put that card into your hand unless your opponent pays 3 life, then exile the rest. I think most of the time you cast this, your opponent's going to take 3, and you're going to get 2 cards you don't really need or want. Cobbled Wings could be good for the sideboard. This is a format where it's really easy for your opponent to get an air elemental and just knock you out very quickly, so having the ability to fight that is good. I'm not too keen on a 2/2 with Menace that draws me a land for 4 mana. Let's go with the Headstrong Brute again. And we don't want to pick up too many of these. That's a pretty easy way to get trapped. I've seen this Knave do some work. It's a 3/2 for 3. You can pay 3 and sacrifice a creature to create 2 treasure tokens. You can sacrifice 3 treasures to draw a card. In the late game, when you're trading off with stuff, sometimes you can just choose to sacrifice the creature and get the treasure instead. Hijack is better in this format than I think it is in a lot of other formats. There's a lot of stuff that you just want to steal and beat face with. Let's keep going with creatures. All right. So we could splash for the Deadeye Plunderers. 3/3 for 5 gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, and you can pay 4 to create a treasure. So it pumps itself. Dinosaur Stampede in an aggressive deck like this is not bad either. It can completely blow your opponent out if they're not expecting it. Even though we're not playing any dinosaurs, +2/+0 is not bad at instant speed. It will win you some games, but I think I'm going to take the Plunderers and hope we can splash it. Turn a Pirate, Vampire, Dinosaur, Merfolk. I think we just have pirates here. I don't like costly plunder, sacrificing an artifact or creature to draw 2 cards, but that said, if we end up with a lot of treasure, we could go that route. It's not really looking like we're getting a lot of treasure here. It is an instant. And with our smaller creatures, we could turn our smaller creatures into something better with this. Let's go ahead and take it. Vampire Conquistador. In a vampire deck, I think this is playable. In this deck, I don't think it is. We could take the Bear, the Queen's Bay Soldier, just to have another body. If we're splashing blue, I don't want the Shipwreck Looter on a splash. Could take another Headstrong Brute here. We're not going to play a Ryle. We're not going to play a Shorekeeper. Spreading Rot is virtually unplayable. I'm not even sure you would side it in against any of the transforming lands. We'll take another Brute and hope we don't pick up any more. I think we don't want to play any more than 3. There is a chance we play this Fire Shrine Keeper. I would say if we got maybe 2 or 3 more raid cards, we would want this. Almost want to just take the swamp, but we'll take the creature just in case. I'd rather have a playable than a foil. Favorable wins going this late is kind of insane. Prying Blade, we will never play that. All right, pack 3, let's get something good. All right, we got a lot of good stuff, actually. This is a very good pack. The obvious choice, I think, is the 5/5 Trample Haste. You could make an argument for taking the Marauding Looter, but we know for sure we're playing red. We don't know for sure that we are splashing black or splashing blue. So I would rather take the creature that I know we're going to play. I mean, this card should be a rare. In this format, it really should be. I don't think we can pass that. The Drowned Catacomb we could take for splashing, but the value of being able to play this Monster Soar, no matter what, is just way better. Let's go for it. All right. Unfriendly Fire, we could pick that up. That's some great removal. It'll finish the game sometimes. Deal 4 damage to a creature or player at instant speed. It'll definitely get there. We could take Skullduggery. We have a lot of cheap creatures, so having cheap interaction is good. We do not have any Explore, or at least not enough to make this work. No Vampires. We're not playing the Makeshift Munitions. Frenzied Raptor is just not very good in this deck. It can do all right in some other decks, particularly the Dinosaur deck. But I think we're just going to go with the Unfriendly Fire. Okay. Dark Nourishment deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 3 life. Certainly a possibility. Let's see, we've got 20 creatures. Ooh. We're going to cut a lot of this stuff down here, I think. We could take the Sure Strike. We only have 3 non-creature spells. The Fathom Fleet Cutthroat is not bad. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. More often than not, I feel like when I cast this spell, I am throwing something away to do so. Like I'm throwing one of my cheap creatures in front of something big and then casting the Fathom Fleet Cutthroat. I think it is a playable card. I kind of want to try out this Dark Nourishment, though I think the Sure Strike might be the right answer. Actually, let's do the... I'm going to go with the removal. We're going to test it out. I don't know if that's the right option. I think we may be getting a little punished here because I don't know that we want this many 5s. The Stormfleet Arsonist is likely the pick here. I don't think we have enough that cares about pirates yet to run the Goblin. If we had a couple Cutlasses, if I could speak today, I think you actually can play this in some decks. It's totally fine to get a treasure and then throw the Cutlass on this turn 3, but the Arsonist is just better in my opinion. We'll definitely get the removal here. Fire Cannon Blast, I think, is much better. With how many creatures we already have, Deadeye Tormentor's all right. We do have one of those, but I'm just going to take the removal. I think the Skin Shifter is just bad. Though, if we get to attack with our Monster Soar, if we can play a Skin Shifter and attack with a second Monster Soar, or attack with multiple Direfleet Captains and the Skin Shifter, you could make it work, but I think the chance that your opponent blows up whatever... I'm not sure here. I'm going to try out the Mark of the Vampire because I think you have to answer this card. It is possible that you get 2 for 1 with enchantments, but I think if you get to attack with this, you're just going to win. We've got another Arsonist here. I'm not sure if we want another one of these. We could cut the Dark Nourishment. We could cut the Plunderers, actually. I don't know that the Plunderers is worth splashing for right now. So we could take the Arsonist, or we could go with the lower curve. We do have a number of playable 3s already. So let's take the Arsonist. Yeah, I think this is going to end up working out all right, because we'll get another Tormentor here. This Pyromancer is not bad, but I don't think we play it over any of the other 5s we already have. It is removal, it is a creature. We could take a Costly Plunder. We already have one. I don't think we play more than one. I guess we can take a Field of Ruin for the sideboard, just in case. And here... take the Sun-Crowned Hunters. I don't think we play it. We'll take it. Fathomfleet Cutthroat. I guess we'll take that. We do have quite a lot of cuts to make. I'm pretty happy with where we are so far with this. I wouldn't mind a little bit more cheap interaction, but it's not bad. Take a Sailor Means and not play it. We'll certainly take a Foil Mountain and play it. Demolish, almost never going to see that play, but there we go. All right, let's make some cuts. Okay. What do we have here? I'll split these off. Give us as much space as we can here. All right. We definitely need to cut some stuff. I don't think we need the Blight Keeper. Deadeye Tracker can stay in. We don't need many of these 1-drops. Although, did we cut? No, there's not. Those aren't pirates. I don't know that we actually need the Rummaging Goblin. There's not a lot you can do with your mana in this format, and there's almost nothing we can do with our mana here late game. So the Rummaging Goblin, it's not an amazing card, but there are a lot of games where it's going to filter through all the extra stuff you don't need. But I'm going to cut it for now. Anything under non-creatures that we don't want. I could really do without the Costly Plunder, but I kind of want to try it out, see how it goes. We are never flipping this, but the card advantage is just plenty fine. Anything else we want to cut? We do have a lot of 3s here. Maybe we don't need a second Deadeye Tormentor, or we could cut the Queen's Bay Soldier, but I kind of feel like we're going to get run over a little bit if we do that. I think we cut one of these 2/2s for 3. They're not really that good. This could be a 16 land deck. We do have 5 5s and 4 4s. But we've got 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So all but 9 of our cards are 3 or less. I think we could do this. Let's get that in there. Let's get that in there. Our mana is good enough that we could almost mainboard this, but I don't really see the purpose of doing that. Let's make sure there's nothing over here that we don't want to bring in. I don't think we have any good ways to splash the Deadeye Plunderers. If we did, this card gets pretty sick pretty quickly. Ryle, Fire, Shrinekeeper. Yeah, let's try this out. All right, time for round 1. Let's see what we've got here. think this is keepable. We really want to get another mountain here so we can get down the Fire Cannon Blast and the Lightning Rig crew. Having 2 Dire Fleet captains in a row, I think we will keep that. And we'll pass the turn. Our opponent has the Skittering Heartstopper, so they're likely going to eat something at some point. Looks like we may be in the mirror here. What do you have, opponent? Fathom Fleet Firebrand. I don't believe we picked any of these up, which is really bad for the Pirates deck, but we will get our own pirate down on the board. That is fine by me. We're going to take a beating from these two for a little bit. But hopefully draw a land here. This is actually really bad if we do not draw a land. Yeah, come on through. Opponent plays the Frenzied Raptor. All right, perfect. So the question here is, what do we want to get down on the ground? I think we can safely go with the Lightning Rig crew. The more aggressive play would be to get the Headstrong Brute down on the ground. We could also go with the Fire Cannon Blast to take out one of their creatures, but with them having 3 creatures on the board, I don't like us basically taking a turn off to kill a smaller creature. So let's get the Lightning Rig crew. And we will pass the turn. This also allows us to get some extra damage in once we do start dropping the rest of our creatures here. And we wouldn't mind picking up 2 more lands in a row for the next couple turns here. Although we can likely make it a couple turns without them. Okay, so our opponent is probably representing that they have Skullduggery, but I don't know that it's a great idea for us to just take 7 here. And unfortunately, any of the creatures we throw our Lightning Rig crew in front of are going to die to a Skullduggery. Actually, any block we make here will end with a Skullduggery killing the creature, because we can block here with the Lightning Rig crew, the Skullduggery. They basically Skullduggery and pump once. We block here, they Skullduggery and kill the creature. We block here, they Skullduggery, here they Skullduggery. So we could, I guess we could force them to choose which creature they want to get rid of. I'm willing to make them take their entire turn killing our creatures. It's not ideal, but it might be able to catch us up knowing that we have at least 3 playables, and they chose not to do it. So maybe they don't have Skullduggery. I think if they had it, they absolutely would have played that. Although they could be, okay, they're going to duress us, that's fine. They're likely going to get the Fire Cannon Blast. Yeah. So really, it's surprising to me that they made those trades that way. Okay, we'll discard a card. That's fine. But that's being on the defensive here. What do we want to pitch? I think by the time we get to cast the Stormfleet Arsonist, they're going to have enough lands that they just discard a land. And we have plenty of other 5s in the deck. So still a pretty good turn for the opponent. Okay. So do we want a creature that can't block? Or would we rather have the Dire Fleet Captain? So they can get us for 5, 6, 7 next turn again. I think we'll just use our mana a little bit better. We'll get it for 1. Get the Headstrong Brute down here. And pass the turn. You just can't do a whole lot of blocking in this format, unfortunately. All right, we'll block here. They're going to get us for at least 3. We'll know if they have something if they pump here. Yeah, so they're going to pump at least once. We'll see if they have a 3-drop. Yeah, it looks like they do. Maybe make us discard another card. That would be unfortunate. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we have a lot of choices here. The Headstrong Brute can't block, so we're going to start by sending him in. Okay. Now we could get our Dire Fleet Captain down and start attacking next turn. Give us another blocker here. We'll get them for an additional 1 with the Lightning Rig Crew. Dark Nourishment is an instant. They're top decking. Let's see how they attack. Okay, they drew a land, so we definitely want to get rid of that Firebrand. I don't think there's really any need to let them pump that and use their mana for the turn. And now we can declare blockers. Block there. They don't have anything else they can do, so we'll just use that ability now. All right. We don't have any looting. I think we'll keep this mountain up because we don't have any 6-drops that we'll want to play. We're definitely going to be getting them for 1 here. And they know that the Dire Fleet Captain is in our hand, so we'll just cast that. Go to combat. We'll beat for 3. Important to note that the Lightning Rig Crew can attack, does not have Defender, but we will not be attacking. I always want to attack with all, but got to be careful with the Lightning Rig Crew out. Did opponent draw anything? So they've likely drawn something with Raid, I'm guessing, which is why they want to attack with, well, they could have Sure Strike. So if they get us, we go to 10. We're currently winning this race, so I'm going to take this in case they have Sure Strike. I really don't want to lose my Lightning Rig Crew quite yet. That's fine. They were going to attack one way or the other. So maybe we should have blocked there, but I think it was safer to just take that damage. Okay, this is perfect. We can easily outrace our opponent here. So at the beginning of our upkeep, we're going to exile the top card of our library. If it's a non-land card, we can cast that this turn. Whenever we cast the third spell each turn, we can transform it. And if we get to transform it, we can deal 3 damage for 3 mana and tapping the Bastion. But I think we're going to hold back here. I don't really want to throw this away. We're not going to attack with the Lightning Rig Crew just to potentially eat that. We'll save it back. So let's get this out. And we're going to draw 2 cards next turn, so I don't mind. I actually don't mind putting the mountain down. I know that it sort of gives away some information, but if we get two spells we can cast, I would be happy with that. So let's pass the turn. Hope opponent doesn't get anything. And the game is going actually surprisingly long, so the clock is going to be an issue. This is still the first game. All right. We're no longer winning that race if we just keep taking that damage, so I will block, and if they have Sure Strike, we'll make them have it. Okay. That is okay. All right, Vance, what do you have for us? Get another Headstrong Brute. Okay. Get our opponent. Now that can't block, which is a problem. Okay, let's cast. I think that's probably the last land we'll play for now. We still do not want to attack right now. Although I think next turn we certainly will be. We do have to be careful. Our opponent could get some removal. And we are relatively low. The game's pretty close, but... we really don't need too many hits from the cannon to be pretty far ahead. But right now, I do think we are a little bit behind. Our opponent's still the aggressive deck here. I guess we'll still block there. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm just trying to save time by doing that now, because there's not much else we're going to do for the rest of the opponent's turn, and this being tapped does not make much of a difference. All right, opponent. Do you have another creature? Looks like no. Destroy target creature. Opponent controls it with self damage. Okay. This is pretty good. Not sure why we would do that then. So if we attack, they're going to block with this. We can force them to double block here. I think we are going to drop 2 creatures. Oh, no. Well, I guess we're not. That was a mistake there. I did not mean to click through that. But that is okay. We can get our opponent for some damage here. Opponent has a land. All right. Missing that attack was a pretty big mistake, but our opponent has to have something pretty good here. Okay. Let's sideboard. We do not have a lot of time left for the next game, so what do we want here? We could fight fire with that thing. I don't really think we want to change all that much with this deck. The Skittering Heartstopper is really sort of iffy. We could lose a 5-drop since we do know the opponent is so low to the ground like we are. I don't know if we really even want to get rid of anything here. Like, I don't think the Heartstopper really does us that much. It was a problem. It definitely was an issue to play around, but on the other hand, it is another piece of removal in a way. The Arsonist is very good. Dark Nourishment kills pretty much all of their creatures. I'm going to try bringing the curve down a little bit. We are on 16 lands. Let's try this out. Okay. This is definitely a keep. We're not going to get much value out of the Rigging Runner, but we do get something down on the ground with First Strike. We will keep. And who knows, maybe we draw another one and then we want to hang on to this, but probably not. Prying Blade, okay. Not a great card, but when most of our creatures are X2s, that will get there. I think we'll just get the Rigging Runner down. Getting something with First Strike kind of outclasses a few of their things, but I see, really no value in getting the Deadeye Tracker down, especially since they will most definitely play something that stops it. Okay, so they're going to get an Unfriendly Fire, which is okay. So now we are getting a little bit punished for not playing the Deadeye Tracker first, but what can you do? Well, you can attack for 1 is one thing you can do. We'll throw down the Scoundrel. Next turn, we can play the Headstrong Brute, and then the turn after that, we've got at least 2 creatures we can cast. And depending on what they play here, we may actually decide to get down the Deadeye Tracker and the Queensbay Soldier, especially if our opponent plays some non-creature spells that can get in their yard, and we can start exploring with the Deadeye Tracker. It is kind of card advantage, but they've got to have stuff in their yard for us to do that. And with how much time we have here, I'm hoping we don't go to a game 3. Okay, they've got a land. Oh, nice. Now the question is, do they want to trade here? So if we do that, they trade there. I would guess they'd most likely want to try to race, especially since they have the Prying Blade. So if we attack there, they don't trade. They attack us next turn. We throw something under the bus so they don't get a treasure from the Prying Blade. They do trade. We both get the treasure. Opponent has gotten rid of our unfriendly fire, so we have no 5-drops, but we could. They do trade. We get 2 treasure. We can drop 2 of our creatures here. I think we will see what our opponent does. We'll get down the Headstrong Brute and pass a turn. In the end, these 2 Wanted Scoundrels, I do not mind trading them off. I would, of course, prefer to have the choice to choose if I'm using my mana here. But honestly, if my opponent wants to attack me with that, it's kind of nice to give them the option here. Make them the ones that have to decide if they're going to attack. Okay. So we might just end up in a bit of a race here. This is where we'd really like a Cutlass, which we did not see at all in the draft, unfortunately. Not a surprise, a lot of people will first pick the Cutlass and have no intent of playing Pirates, just because it's something to do with your mana. Again, as mentioned earlier, there's not a whole lot to do with your mana in this format. So opponent is going to choose to trade off here. I kind of want to start exploring, and I don't want to try to race with these. Although next turn, if we do race next turn, let's see what happens if we don't block this. If we take this, we go to 16. We attack them next turn. We're going to hit them for 7 and bring them down to 12, and then we'll be able to drop blockers for the Scoundrel. That's actually not bad. Although I don't really want to throw these 2. I could throw these 2 in front of it. All right, opponent. And if we block it, we give them the ability to throw more blockers down on the ground. We're going to give them treasure, and they can do something with it. Let's race, opponent. Let's do it. And maybe we pull open fire, and then we don't even need to trade for it. Or not open fire, whatever the blast is. I think opponent must be doing some multitasking here. So far, this format's been pretty divisive. I guess I'll talk about that while we wait for the opponent here. I personally enjoyed a little bit more than I did Hour of Devastation at the beginning of the format. All right, we've got a swamp. It's not the end of the world here. We will start attacking. Yeah, a lot of people not super keen on this format, though, and I can definitely understand it. The thing that I like about the format is there are far fewer creatures that feel just unbeatable. There's no gods or anything like that. There are some pretty tough beats. If an opponent curves out with certain red decks, it can be very difficult to win, and it can be very frustrating to play against. But that said, I'm enjoying it so far. We'll see how many more drafts I want to play with it. I think in this situation we will potentially trade off for that Wanted Scoundrel. It's kind of tough to know because, well, our opponent's paying cost, so this means that they are most likely either going to remove one of our creatures or they're going to equip the Prying Blade. I'm guessing since it's taking them a little bit of time, maybe they're killing one of our creatures. +2/+2 in haste. Okay. So 5/5 menace, that's something we have to deal with. Can't really deal with it this turn, so we are likely taking 5. But I would like to start exploring here, so hopefully we can get them to trade off that Wanted Scoundrel, though we're going to be kind of in a tough place here if we can't deal with that Headstrong Brute soon, because a 5/5 is just very big. It's going to require 2 of our cards no matter what we do with it at this point in the game. Cannot take many hits from that. Opponent is thinking about what to do next. You know, that's one thing that I do miss about playing in person, and I do play a lot of paper drafts, but just being able to interact with your opponent a little bit more and talk to them a little bit more, I kind of like that about in-person drafts. Of course, if it's pretty competitive, usually you won't talk to them that much, but sometimes they'll make chatter while they're thinking about what they want to do. And for me, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about Magic is getting to know other people. It kind of keeps me from being too sedentary or internal. You know, it's very easy to just say I'm going to stay inside and watch TV or something like that. But interacting with other people is nice sometimes. So opponent could swing for 9 here. Next turn, we've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it'd be risky for them to attack all out. We could take the 9, put us down to 7. But then we get blown out by a lot of stuff. They could still have I mean, we didn't see it, but they could have the +3 and First Strike, which for 2 mana, any blocks we make here is just going to completely blow us out. Not a great situation to be in. All right. Opponent deciding if they would like to attack. What are the things we could draw here? Let's think back to our deck. We have... I did take a screenshot, so we'll take a look. Okay, they are going to attack now. It seems like every time I start talking, that's when they go, okay, maybe we should make a play. So we could draw... I mean, the Vance's Blasting Cannon could help catch us up a little bit. The Charging Monstrosaur would be great. If we draw the Charging Monstrosaur, I think we could just win out of with almost any attack our opponent makes here. Getting 5 hasted trample. We've got 11 power on the board right now. So that would be a very good draw. We have not seen that yet. Dark Nourishment, we could get rid of the Scoundrels, and then we can potentially set up some blocks for the Headstrong Brute next turn. What else do we have? Mark of the Vampire could help turn things around, giving something lifelink. We can offset a lot of that 5/5 there. Arsonist would not be very good out because they can just sacrifice one of their lands. We could attack in with something. They block with the Well, the brute can't block, so we're not going to get it with the cutthroat, but yeah, not too many outs here. Fire Cannon Blast actually would be a very good out, especially if opponent attacks with everything, because we can attack with pretty much anything and get the brute. Particularly if we're able to trade for that Scoundrels this turn, that would set our opponent back quite a bit, I think. They are going to attack with everything. We do have a lot of outs, but I think we're relatively behind. We have a lot of dead draws here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to trade off for the Scoundrels here. So if we trade off with the Scoundrels, we're left with 7, 8 power on the board. If we draw the Monster Soar, we get there. I just think the the potential risk here of dropping down to 7 could be bad, because then we can't really attack next turn. What are our worst draws here? We've got both of our 1s. We only have one of our, or 2 of our 2s right now, so we could get either of the Dire Fleet Captains. Those would not be very good draws. The Kite Sail Freebooter would be a bad draw. Costly Plunder would be an alright draw, because we could set up to block something next turn, and then, before damage, sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. I think, actually, looking at where we are right now, the Blasting Cannons might be too slow. And Dark Nourishment will do pretty much nothing if the opponent drops, unless they drop something we can kill with that. Although it is instant speed, something to keep in mind there. And actually, land would be the worst draw that we could have. Not entirely sure what's going on across the table here. It's taking our opponent about 2 minutes between every click, it seems. Maybe we'll cut some of this out here. If we do go to a game 3, our opponent does not have a whole lot of time, particularly with how long the rest of the games went, or the first game, I should say, went. And I mean, a win is a win, but I would prefer to win playing Magic than win to the clock. Now, in this case, I think we are regretting not having that Skittering Heartstopper, I believe it's called. Okay. Maybe we declare blockers. Let's try this. Our opponent has a really good chance of blowing us out here, but I am willing to make that, take that chance. And that could be the wrong choice. There are so many different things that get us in this format that sometimes you can't play around all of them, especially if your opponent is very aggressive. This opponent has been very aggressive. The first game they were really aggressive, and they have attacked, I think, every opportunity they have had, which is not a bad strategy. There's not a whole lot of blocking in this format, similar to some of the issues we ran into with Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation. It seems like these sets, Wizards has really done a lot of just give creatures so much different evasion or different ways to make blocking not profitable in almost any case. Both Amonkhet and now this set have a 3/1 that is conditionally impossible to block. Opponent's not going to do anything here. Or maybe they will do something after first strike damage. Or maybe they just give us treasure. Okay. And let's see what their last card is. Or the second to last card. They could actually just be equipping the Prying Blade if they don't have another card in hand. Okay, they're going to sacrifice the Prying Blade. For a second there, I forgot that you could sacrifice an artifact. But that makes sense. All right. Monster Dawn, one time, please. Or Monster Sword, not Monster Dawn. Let's get the name right. Okay. It's not what I wanted, but... So next turn they can attack us for 5. We don't know what's in their hand. We could leave this back. So if we attack for 7, that brings them down to 5. We could attack them for 8. Brings them down to 4. I'm fine with sacrificing one of these treasures. Might as well get our cards now. Get the captain. Does making this a 2/2 or getting us a card help when we could just get them more damage? Or get more damage in. There's not much they can do next turn. They could have a Monster Dawn and a Pump Spell. Well, they won't. They actually can't have that. All right, we're going to attack with all. Worst case scenario, we chump with the Dire Fleet Captain. But our opponent's at 4. I think it's better to just keep the pressure on. They gave us a treasure here, so thank you. They've got another land. Let's see what they can do. They could potentially have 2 removal spells, and then we can't swing back for the win. That's not impossible. Okay, so they got Lannery Storm. Whenever attacks, you get a treasure, and you can sacrifice, or whenever you sacrifice a treasure, it gets +1/+0. This is a pretty neat card. I like this a lot. And they scooped. All right, let's go on to the next match.